Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. This is episode number 193. Yes, we have made it to our 193rd episode without being struck off air, without receiving any letters in the post. We are still broadcasting. And of course, episode 193 means we are just seven episodes away from our historic 200th episode, which is quite phenomenal, and I still can't quite believe it. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, which is the other platform that you can watch these podcasts, if you're watching it there, please do like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page so you can be kept updated that well. And as you know by now, as well as producing these fantastic podcasts, I'm a bit biased, we also do other things as well. We distribute books, we do school visits, Hare Krishna festivals, lots of wonderful activities around the UK and now Europe, thanks to our partnership within the League of Devotees. Okay, episode 193. This is a bit of a rare episode because I think it's probably only 5 or 6 times over 5 years we've had a return guest. It's incredibly rare. And I'm really delighted to welcome back Annu. Hare Krishna, Annu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you?
I'm great. I've got up extra early today to record this podcast. Annu is in India, so whenever there's a time difference, I get up extra early to get ready. But it's all part of the savor, part of the challenge. And Annu last appeared, I had to look back through the archives almost a year ago on episode 152. And it will become apparent in a moment as to why I've invited Annu back. That episode was actually quite a very well-received episode, and it was one of our more highly viewed episodes as well because of the subject matter, which we're going to get into very soon. Okay, Annu, bit of a recap because our audience here at the Hare Krishna Project has grown a lot over the last 12 months. So some people might not remember you or might not have seen the podcast. So let's start with the first question, just to warm us both up. Please tell us a little bit about you and where you are from.
My name is Annu Pandey. I am based in Greater Noida, India. It's in the northern part of India. It's 120 kilometers from Vrindavan. I am a mother of 3 beautiful children. And apart from that, I am also a counseling psychologist, an author, speaker, and writer. I have done my MA in clinical psychology and my MTech in geotechnical engineering, as I have engineering background as well. And I have authored 3 technical textbooks in civil engineering and 2 self-help books.
Wow. Wow. Wow, what a CV. I loved how you summed it up very easily. Sometimes I ask someone the first question and I don't say anything for 30 minutes, but I loved how and you're only 120 kilometers away from Vrindavan, you said.
Vrindavan, yes.
So that's about a 2-hour drive or less
Yeah,
than 2
2-hour
hours?
drive by car. Yeah, around 2-hour drive by car.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just in my head converting it to miles because we use miles in the UK. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Wow. Okay, thank you for that. And yeah, a counsellor, a psychologist, an MA in clinical psychology. Um, I did study a little bit of psychology at school during my A levels,
Okay.
but I was more of a philosopher myself. I wanted to debate with the teachers about the meaning of life and why we were here. I was actually just trying to distract them so we wouldn't do any work. But that was my experience in psychology lessons. Okay, and tell us a bit about how you discovered Krishna consciousness. What are your links with the Krishna consciousness community?
I'm an initiated devotee. It's been around 5 years since I got initiated. I met ISKCON devotees around 10 years ago. My husband introduced me to them. initially I wasn't very interested because I didn't know what it was all about. I had no idea actually. I had never met an ISKCON devotee before, so I didn't know who they are, what they are. I just thought it's some of my husband's friends that my husband wants to go and associate with them. And I am very introvert person. I do not go out easily and do not mingle with everyone. So initially, I was skeptical. I didn't want it to go, but he insisted. He had some belief that his spiritual life will be affected if I and my children do not associate with the community. He had this belief at that time. So just to pacify him, just to show him support in his spiritual life, I started to visit temple and the Bhakti Vriksha program and all that. And I really liked it at that time. Um, Although in India, almost everyone is religious, everybody knows about Krishna and all the demigods and all that. And especially, I was born in a Hindu Brahmin family. And in Brahmin families, people are more religious than others. And especially if you are a girl. So in India, for women, for girls, it's a part of tradition to be religious. You know, it makes a girl more desirable as a daughter-in-law in future, as a wife in future. When people are seeking daughter-in-law for their house, most of the marriages are arranged, and that you know that. So it's one of the desired characters. She should be spiritual. She should be religious, not spiritual. She should be religious. She should be into doing fasting and puja, and she should know about all that. So it was a part of culture. So my mother also raised me like that. My mother is also very highly religious. She's also initiated. My maternal grandfather was a monk. My mother also comes from very highly spiritual family. So my mother taught me since I was a kid that there were a lot of shoulds, I should be doing this and that. And as a child, I didn't enjoy a lot of things. But as I started to grow up, I had this idea that God is capable of protecting you and he provides you. So that protection thing, it convinced me that I should always stay connected to God, because world does not seem a very safe place. It didn't seem like a very safe place to me, because um, we hear about the incidents, the accidents, the crimes, and all that. So I always used to think, what if something happens that my parents are not able to protect me from? So there is God. I mean, these were not conscious thoughts, but a subconscious belief that I should be always connected to God, because he is capable of protecting me. But to be honest, at that time I didn't had much thoughts like I should be grateful for what he provides me, I should be thankful, and the loving relationship. So these things, that we should be grateful towards God, towards universe, towards other human beings, and we should establish a relationship of love with him. These things I was not aware, to be honest, because these are not part of religiosity. These are spiritual things. So I always was a very religious person. I worshipped all demigods, but I didn't know who Krishna was, how to connect with him, what my relationship is with him. And I had also not read any of the scriptures before. Although my mother, my parents had the scriptures at home, but nobody convinced me, and I never thought that it was easy. I was a religious person into a lot of rituals and all that. But when I connected with SCON, that was the first time I got to know about spirituality. And I really felt inspired by that. That was something that was missing from life, and I didn't even know about that. So, two things that I found most attractive in SCON, in spiritual communities, all kinds of communities, is that intellectual thing was that I came to know about the structure, how they preach, how the weekly classes, the fortnightly classes, the certification courses, the Bhagavad Gita courses, the Bhakti Vriksha classes, and the system of initiation, first initiation, second initiation, systematic way of preaching, book distribution, availability of books. That was very fascinating to me at that time, because I have always been a book reader. I love reading. Since I was a teenager, I started developing love for reading because of one of my English teachers. So I found it very fascinating. And then if you want to grow spiritually, you don't have to do anything. You just have to attend programs and they will do everything for you. And that too free of cost. You don't have to invest money, and they are eager to provide you all that. I found that very fascinating because I loved this. psychology, philosophy, spirituality. I always loved these things. I didn't know consciously, I didn't have term for these things, but I was that kind of person, very keen observer, very deep thinker. So these things, I found them very attractive. And my husband also wanted me to do that because he felt that his spiritual growth is not possible unless entire family gets involved deeply in that. So I said, okay, we will do that. So we started doing that, going to programs, conducting programs, and I did a lot of changes in my lifestyle also to accommodate all that. And then there was this, so this was the intellectual component, and there was an emotional component as well, which was the community. So to be honest, although at that time intellectually I thought that the intellectual component is attracting me more, but to be honest, at this day, if I think about that, the emotional component was more attractive to me, which was a sense of community and belonging. At that time, I was going through a difficult phase. I have complex trauma, and I had severe depression at that time, 10 years ago, and I had a lot of anxiety also. And I had practically lost most of my social life. Although I was connected to hundreds and thousands of people on the online social media groups and profile and all that, but practically, physically, I had very small social life, and that too, I didn't felt very validated around those people. And suddenly, I had this community full of so many people who loved me from day one, and they showed their care and love and acceptance and validation. And suddenly, it started to feel like I'm worthy of love and I'm worthy of being accepted. And then there were a lot of verbal, I was appreciated a lot for being part of the community, for being wise, for being enlightened, for being fortunate one of those fortunate ones who come here and join the community. And so all the positivity suddenly it overwhelmed me, and it was at that point everything I wanted, because I was really distressed at that time, lost and sad and lonely. And suddenly I had hundreds and thousands of people, and not just from my congregation, but everywhere, wherever you go, if you have this tilak and you have this gopi dress, you're instantly accepted, you're instantly validated, and you're loved, and you're shown all kind of support in your illness, your sickness, and everything. So suddenly everything was beautiful, everything was amazing, and I felt like this is it. I want this to be the focus of my life, and I was really very happy. And I received a lot of things from ISKCON, a lot of positive things that I'm still carrying with me. So everything was amazing, everything was perfect, everyone was so caring. Everyone, even those that I would meet for the first time, even they showed and said and made me feel that I would get very long paragraphs of appreciation on my birthday, how amazing I am as a person, as a mother, as a wife, as a all my talents were described. And as a devotee also, I felt so worthy. Believe me, I never felt this worthy ever before in my life. So it was all amazing. So this is how it all started.
Hmm. We might come onto this later. I don't want to preempt our conversation, but a lot of people, including psychologists, would say that you were love bombed, or the term is love bombing. I was thinking of that. Well, we might talk about that a bit later on, but
Yeah, okay.
that for the last few minutes, I've been thinking, wow, she's definitely being love bombed. Um, um,
And now I know that.
yeah.
At that time it felt everything was so unconditional. At that time, because I didn't know that love can be conditional as well as unconditional. So at that time, I felt I was being loved unconditionally, because at that time, I didn't know that conditional love is also something. I thought when someone is showing you love, then that's it. Love is love. That's it. That's what I thought 10 years ago. And I really felt overwhelmed all the time. It was like my dream was coming true. Everybody wants to be accepted and loved like that. So it was amazing.
Okay. We're going to come back to that later on. But the big thing, or the main difference, certainly in your life, I think, since we last spoke a year ago, is your book is out. Your new book is out. And that was the main, that's what encouraged me to invite you back. I saw a couple of weeks ago that your new book is out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Your new book is called Keeping Faith Alive: Healing from Spiritual Abuse, Religious Trauma, and Toxic Faith. Wow, what a title. Can you tell us a bit about your book and what encouraged or inspired you to write it?
So my book teaches reader how to heal from spiritual abuse, religious trauma, and toxic faith. And no wonder these things exist, because narcissistic people, toxic people are everywhere. And wherever they go, they cause harm. And no place is safe from them. Some people might say that, oh, in religious spaces, in spiritual spaces, things like that do not happen because everyone is nice, everyone is good. No, it's not true. The doors of hospital are open for everyone who needs to be cured, and especially for people who are who need more care. Similarly, the doors of churches, mosques, temples, congregations are open for everyone, especially who are more sick. So narcissistic people are sick. Yes, they are. Some narcissists might feel offended that no, I have a personality disorder and it's a psychological disorder. But this is one particular disorder that can never be treated because people do not seek therapy for that. So bad people are everywhere, in corporate world, in political world, in family systems, in educational system, and also in religious and spiritual places. So my book, it teaches, I have covered almost everything that I could think about. So it defines what spiritual abuse is. It defines why it happens, what is the psychology behind abuse, how the psychology of abusers as well as the victims enables it. Yes, even the victims are, I won't say that, I won't blame them, but their psychology, their unmet emotional needs is what enables this and sustains this dynamics between the abuser and the victims. I have described how the trauma that leaders carry, the trauma that followers carry, could be responsible for manifestation and sustenance of abuse in spiritual spaces. I have talked about how what are the different stages of spiritual abuse, what are the different stages of awakening from it, what are the different symptoms that show up in the victims. And then I have also talked about the bystanders who are neither abusers nor victims, but they are bystanders, why they act in certain ways. I have talked about the group think, how we sometimes think in a way that the group we belong to thinks. I have discussed the symptoms that the victims show during different stages. And then there is this toolbox at the end that I have referred, the tools from that toolbox I have referred during in the entire book, during the different stages, that at what stages, what symptoms you feel, what is the psychology behind it, what role has the spiritual abuse played in these symptoms, why they are happening to you, and what tools you can use in that moment to feel better, so throughout that, although I have differentiated the stages of abuse, of awakening, but people who are into this dynamics, they always think only one thing: I am a sinner, I made mistake, I am failing morally, I am failing spiritually. Because when you are in a toxic system, this is what you are told over and over. So I have tried to um, debunk all these myths that you are not a sinner for being abused by a toxic person, whether in a spiritual community, in a family system, or in your office. If somebody abuses you, it's never your fault. But an emotionally or psychologically abusive person might want you to think like it's your fault, so that you never take stand for yourself, you never even think about your healing, and you always keep on second guessing yourself and enabling their behavior. So this is how their behavior gets enabled. So I have tried to touch each and every psychological aspect related to everything that happens in spiritually abusive environments. I have also discussed how patriarchal environments can make it worse for women. Why? Also, there is a lot of use of verses, so in all kinds of abuse, spiritual abuse, when somebody who is using spirituality to abuse you, they use doctrines, they use verses, they use teachings to gaslight you, to make you think that it's your fault, or maybe it's all in your head, or maybe you're just imagining it, or maybe it's not that serious, and even if it's your fault, it's your moral failing, it's your karma. So I have tried to clarify all these things, and there is a special chapter for women to make them understand that it's not God who is toxic. Because when you are abused for a very long time in a space that was supposed to keep you safe, that was supposed to nourish you, when you leave, somehow you are able to leave that. Although most of the people are never able to leave or get away from that because of the internalized guilt, shame, and the critical thoughts. And these critical thoughts, these critical words, they actually coming from the abusers outside you, but over the time they get internalized and they sound like your own voice. Okay, I'm sick, I was not able to attend today's programs. It's because I am a sinner, because I have bad karma. That's why I have fever. I'm lying in the bed. Just look at them. They do not have fever. They are going and attending all the programs. They are doing all the services. It means I am a sinner because you were repeatedly, either overtly or covertly, directly or subtly, you were made to believe that if you are failing anyhow, it's your fault, it's your karma. Of course, law of karma exists. I very much believe in that. The law of karma is there in the scripture so that you can be careful about your own karma, not so that you can go around abusing people and telling that abusing people and enabling other abusers, and then telling the victims that, oh, it's all your karma. Also, there is a myth that if you are into spirituality, if you're practicing nicely, you should always be happy. I had a client, I was talking to her last month, and she said that she was really distressed. She um she had some problems with her spouse and with her friend, and because of it she was sad. And she said three times during a session of 45 minutes, that I know it's my karma, and I know I shouldn't be upset, and I shouldn't be angry because I am a devotee. And I felt so sad for her. You are allowed to have emotions. Everybody is allowed to have emotions. Emotions are not bad. If you are having certain emotions, what you do with those emotions, it decides whether you are a good person or not. But you are allowed to have emotions. So there are so many myths that people believe about spiritual life. I have tried to debunk all of them over and over. I have tried to validate them. The main purpose of writing this book is that I wanted to validate them. My book comes from a deeply personal space as well as from professional space. Professionally, as a counseling psychologist, as someone who works in the field of mental health, I wanted to make sure that I am um, well versed, I am qualified in all type of scenarios from which clients could come to me. I should be able to understand all kind of interpersonal relationships, interpersonal abuse. And this particular one, a lot of my colleagues, they do not understand what spiritual abuse is. But I have been into these spaces. I have been around people who cause, who are causing or who have caused abuse. I have been around people as a counselor, as a devotee, who are being abused, and they don't even have insight into it. One of the survivors who shared her story with me, she said that she wasn't aware that she was being abused unless after few years of leaving her community. So it comes from a professional space as well, because I want, as a counselor, I want to understand every aspect of this. And while writing this book, I did a lot of research. I read hundreds of literatures and books and everything. So now I know, as a counselor, if a devotee comes to me, if a follower, a believer, a Christian, a Muslim, or whoever comes to me, I will be able to understand a little bit. Although I'll never be able to feel what they are feeling, but I'll be able to make sense of what they are telling me, of their stories. So, from a professional space, um, this book comes, and also from a deeply personal space. So, when I was very much into it, I was overwhelmed by all the nice things. I motivated a lot of people by my behavior, and I directly convinced a lot of people to join these spaces. My congregation, not just my congregation, but I would never tell people to come and join my congregation, because that's the only way to God. But I would just tell, like, my cousins, my friends, my neighbors, that you should be into spirituality, because it really changes your life. At that time, I felt that my life really changed. Actually, it did a lot of good things also. I would never deny that. I'm still carrying those nice things with me. So I wanted good things to happen to other people too. So I convinced them, I motivated them, and just by my behavior, some people felt inspired and joined these spaces. So at that time, I was very happy. I felt proud of myself for being able to change their life. But after some times, when I started to see the crack in the facade that I was associated with, that is when I felt very sad and distressed and worried. What if I intentionally led these people into some sort of harm? Because I was again more informed on narcissism also. I keep on reading about these things. So with time, I keep on getting more and more updated. And by that time, I had realized that narcissistic people are everywhere. Now, I have taught these people, you go and blindly follow everything. You just blindly follow and do not question and do not dissent. Just do what they say. What if they get associated with the narcissistic people in these spaces? What if their spiritual life gets worse than what it was before I convinced them to join? That would be the worst thing that I can do to someone. It does happen. Not everyone who joins these spaces have a poor spiritual life. Some are already doing good in their spiritual life, in their religious life, but they are convinced that if you come here, it'll get better. But it doesn't get better for everyone. We know that. We know so many people for whom it got worse. Just because someone is not from your religion, your faith system, your community, your congregation, or from your group, doesn't mean they are below you. I had this feeling at that time that everyone who is not from my congregation is below me, and I need to make their life right. I need to uplift them by bringing them here. Um, that was in the very initial days, but later on, I understood that no, it's okay, because when we go to Vrindavan, and like my parents also, they are also into spirituality from a different community. I have also friends who are from different religion. I studied in a Christian university. Most of my friends were Christians. My friends, my seniors and juniors, they are doing very good in life. They are very well connected to God. So I would suggest people get connected to God, get connected to communities, because communities have a very well built structure. It facilitates the growth in a very simple way. You just have to go and attend programs or all that. I did a lot of talking like that, which I'm not very proud of now when I think back. And because of that, I started to think I need to do some repair now. What if I have caused harm to somebody's spiritual life by saying these words, not being very mindful? I wasn't very informed also on every aspect. The only aspect I was aware of the positive things that I was seeing. I was not aware of the negative things. Even if I was aware of it a little bit, I didn't have strong beliefs about them. Now I have. Now I have psychological knowledge about all of this, evidence based, the researches, everything now I know. So I think it was my responsibility. I felt so responsible to do something to make it right, to make these spaces safe. And my book, it's not written for a particular faith system or for a particular community. It's for everyone, so that anyone or everyone who is trying to connect with God, who's trying to improve their relationship with God, should never met with something that actually destroys that. And the worst thing that could happen to someone in because of spiritual abuse is that they could become aversive of God. I know people who have started to, I wouldn't say hate, but they're afraid of God because they were abused for such a long time by using name of God. So now when somebody leaves a spiritually abusive space, they start to think something is wrong with me. I should not be trusted because I don't know if I should trust myself or not. Because if I listen to them, I am wrong. But if I listen to my heart, I know that I was abused. So it's better not to trust myself, not to trust them, and also not to trust God or scripture, because I don't know who's right, who's wrong. Because nothing seems right at this moment. Nobody should go through this, I believe. So my book helps people to understand every aspect of whatever happened to you, what is happening to you right now. And I also want people to understand that your healing, you are damaged, you were abused, that's why you were damaged, that's why you are going through these thoughts. So you can still love God, you can still believe in yourself once again like you used to do before, and you can still stay connected to people who are in love with God. To some people, God, God's name, God's follower, everything becomes a trigger. I have talked in detail, very detail, about the psychological and emotional triggers. So this book, I felt a huge responsibility to write this book. And when this there was this rumors about India Pakistan war, the first thing that came to my mind was that what if I die, this book will never get completed. I wasn't scared about my death, about dying, but I was scared, what if I die in this war and this book never gets out? How will I be able to help these people? I really wanted this message to go out and reach to people who are suffering in silence, because when you're abused in spiritual spaces, you suffer in silence. You cannot share it with anyone because it feels so sinful. Hey, how can I talk negative about something or someone who gave me so much? And it's true. So I wanted to make survivors understand that it is possible to carry two beliefs which are exactly opposite of each other. Yes, that space gave me a lot of nice things, wonderful things, but it also abused me. It goes for a person also. That particular leader did a great things for me, but they also abused me and caused me emotional harm, because of which I'm having a lot of symptoms. People develop serious disorders, sometimes PTSD, CPTSD, anxiety, depression, OCD like symptoms. I went into details of all of these psychological disorders, symptoms, and everything, so that at the end, survivors will know that I am not crazy. This is what happened to me, and I am not crazy, and this can be made better. So this is all about my book. I tried everything to include.
Thank you. And I am going to buy a copy within the next few days. I shall read it and
Thank
shall
you.
give you a positive review. I did look through the table of contents that you sent me in preparation for today, and I was incredibly impressed. You've covered so many issues. And I was the sub the top the area that I was most impressed to see was the bit about women and empowering women. And you might find that's bizarre, me saying that as a white man living in England, but I've always struggled. I was raised by my mother and grandmother. So when I then joined a religious community and found that women weren't treated equally, that women didn't feel equal, I was just very confused by that. Because the first fundamental teaching of Krishna consciousness is we're not the body. And actually, spiritually, we're all equal. So I've always struggled with these ideas that women aren't equal. It's kind of a no-brainer to me. You know, I'm from a kind of liberal Western background and country where women can be prime minister or queen and, you know, high-powered jobs. So I always became quite bewildered. I felt bewildered that I had joined a religious community where women weren't being treated equally. So I'm really pleased to see that you've addressed that in your book. So I'm looking forward to reading that and writing, I'm sure, what will be a positive review.
Thank you.
Annu, as we've discovered already, and as we discovered on last year's podcast, you specialize in recognizing narcissistic abuse in spiritual organizations. Please tell us, because a lot of people actually don't know, what is narcissism and what is narcissistic abuse?
Narcissism is a pattern of behavior which can manifest in the form of a personality disorder, which is listed in the Diagnostic Statistic Manual. And it can also be seen as just a pattern of behavior in someone who is not diagnosed or who doesn't even have narcissistic personality disorder. It is also seen in people who have borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. Sometimes people who have deep trauma like PTSD and CPTSD may also sometimes show narcissistic behavior as a coping mechanism to survive with the trauma that they are carrying. So narcissism is a pattern of behavior that is primarily characterized by grandiosity, excessive need for deep need for excessive admiration, and lack of empathy. So these three the characteristics are the core characteristics. If someone thinks that they have a grandeur sense of self, they have like they think that they are special and they should always be treated special, and they always seek admiration. They think they should always be admired, they should always be praised, and they sometimes even push people to praise them publicly so that people will know that how great they are.
Mm.
And the most important, the core one that I would say is lack of empathy. If someone lacks empathy, they are very likely to be narcissistic people. Rest other we can ignore, but if someone lacks empathy, if you ask me what is the one sign, how would I know that this person is a narcissistic? They lack empathy. They do not care for the well-being of other people. When a narcissistic person meets someone for the first time, they evaluate it, whether this person is above me or below me. If this person is below me, I will control them, exploit them, manipulate them, and make them live their life in a way that suits me, that favors me, that benefits me. When they come across someone they think as their superior, they think how I will impress this person, how I create a facade that impresses this person so that I can get what I want from this person for my benefit. So they are always focused on exploiting. They are interpersonally very exploitative, whoever they are in contact with. Even the people who on the outside it might look like that they are very good friends with them, but they are not. They are with them because they are getting benefited from them, and they have this belief that friendship exists for exploiting, benefiting from each other. However, it's not true. When we are friends with someone, when we are family members, we deeply care about them. Also, we feel sad when they are sad or when they are sick. We want to care for them, we want to be there for them, although we may not feel somebody what someone is actually feeling, but we try to feel. For example, as a parent, narcissistic parents do not care about the well-being of their children, about their spouse. They are always focused on even the communication pattern that they have towards people around them. It's always designed so that somehow I should be benefit from that. I had been observing narcissistic people since a very long time. Even when I was not a psychologist, I was an engineer, I used to read a lot about narcissism, and I am someone who can spot a narcissist from 1 kilometer. Because and I'm very I always try to keep myself away from them, because no matter what you do, you can never be in good relationship with a narcissistic person. They are always focused on how do I use this person for my benefit. So narcissism, narcissistic people, narcissistic abuse is basically, although they can do all forms of abuse, financial and sexual and physical, but it's mostly emotional and psychological manipulation. They are very mastermind, very expert in manipulating people around them. They use their emotions, they use their intelligence. When a narcissistic person is with someone, they talk to them, they are not just talking, they're taking notes. Your vulnerabilities, your weaknesses, your fears, your desires, your dreams, your goals, and then they use it against you. And they cause the narcissistic abuse to the people stronger to them and to the weaker to them in different ways. It's not always same, and that is why a lot of times the victims are not able to prove that this person is a narcissist, because they have two faces. One face is around those people who are vulnerable, weak, who cannot do anything about them, and then there are people who are stronger to them, and the people who are on the same level to them. So this is what narcissism is. This is what narcissistic abuse. And narcissistic abuse is insidious. It's very difficult to detect. Even the victims are not able to know that they are being abused. It has such it's not a person who is narcissistically abusive is not always abusive. They'll abuse you for 4 days, and then on the fifth day bring you flowers and gifts, and they will praise you, and they will make you feel nice, and they will talk to you about the topics that you find interesting. And suddenly you will start to question yourself, maybe something is wrong with me. Look at him, this person, look at her, she's talking to me so nicely, taking care of me, being there for me, and doing what I exactly like, and they'll do it for few hours, and then again you are on your own, or they might start to abuse you. So there is always a lot of cognitive dissonance, which means existence of two very highly polar thoughts. This person abuses me and destroying me, but this person truly cares about me. This person loves me. So the victims are always in confusion. Maybe something is wrong with me. And also narcissistic people keep on telling their victims something is wrong with you. The way you are thinking, you are overreacting, you are being too sensitive. Look, they will try to recall for you, so that you will doubt yourself about the memories that you hold about them, in which they have abused you. So now this type of abuse, they aren't just beating you or causing you physical abuse. They are confusing you also. They are also playing with your head. So it gradually destroys the sense of worth and autonomy. You also don't know. They do not have a fixed rule for their. Right now I'm talking about narcissistic people in intimate relationship. It could be a leader follower relationship, husband wife relationship, parent child relationship. So in relationships, it mostly happens in relationships. A narcissist cannot go around and abuse a stranger. They always abuse people who are dependent on them, who are weaker than them, their family members. Narcissistic leaders or devotees, they abuse followers who are below them, socially weak, financially weak, intellectually weak, education wise they are weaker than them. It becomes easier for them to manipulate them. So when the abuse is on emotional and psychological level, it destroys the victim's sense of worth and autonomy. Also, there are no fixed rules or principles in their life. They they want you to do or believe or follow or think or feel what benefits them in a given moment. In this given moment, ABC is something that is benefiting them. So you have to think and feel and believe in this way. But in the next moment, if opposite of that is benefiting them, if you know what I'm saying, they will accuse you. For example, I might be scolded for wearing this particular color today, because narcissist is not comfortable with that. Next day, I might get scolded for not wearing this because they want me to wear this. So there are no fixed rules. There are no fixed principles in life. What favors them in a given moment should be done by people around them, and if they are not doing, they will be abused. So you don't know what to do, how to please this person. Victims who are around narcissistic people, they are always busy managing their emotions, so they gradually start to disconnect from their own selves, from their own body cues, what their body wants from them, what their mind wants from them. I'm not even talking about career, profession. These are very far things. You don't even know when I'm actually tired and if I should rest. Because narcissistic people, they don't care if you are sick. They don't care if you are tired. If they want you to do something, you should be available. So, and they also tell you that you are overreacting. You are being lazy. This term is used repeatedly by narcissistic people in all kinds of settings, in corporates, in office, in communities, in at home also. So over time you become so disconnected from yourself that when you are sick, you are not sure if you should take rest or you should do some work, because you are afraid that they will get upset. So over time you start to gaslight yourself. Maybe I am not tired, maybe I do not have body pain, maybe I'm just being lazy, maybe I'm just being I lack devotion to them, to God, to the community. Maybe I lack loyalty, maybe I have a lot of bad karmas, that's why I am not feeling like doing something. You get so disconnected that you are not able to understand that I am having severe migraine pain, or I am having body pain, or I have a fever, so I should rest. This is the level of disconnection that happens. So you lose your autonomy. Narcissistic abuse makes people lose their autonomy and also their sense of worth, because repeatedly you are told what to feel, what to think, what to believe in, and it also keeps on changing as per the mood of the narcissistic person. So this is how narcissistic abuse happens in all kinds of settings.
Thank you, Anu. I really, really appreciate that because I think it's something we use the term narcissist or narcissism a lot, but actually a lot of people don't really know what it means. So your uh, your advice and your knowledge is, I just think, really, really useful to so many of us. And you've kind of answered this next question already, but I'm going to put it to you in case you can provide any more information.
Yeah.
Does narcissistic abuse happen often in religious and spiritual organizations? And if so, why is that?
Narcissistic abuse, as I said already, happens everywhere because narcissistic people are everywhere. They say that 1 in every 6 people is a narcissistic. And as I said before, also, the doors of a temple, of a church, of a mosque are open for everyone, just like hospitals' doors are open for everyone, every sick person. So anyone who wants to get better, who wants to get connected to God, who is distressed, are allowed to come into these spaces. We cannot stop them from coming because God is for everyone. Devotional life is for everyone. But the thing is that two type of people come to these spaces, to spiritual spaces. The genuine seeker who come here for God, for devotion, for devotee association, for being around believers who believe in the same God or same faith system. And then there are narcissistic people who come here for control, for admiration, and for power. They do not come here for seeking God because they know that the structure of these spaces, it's designed in a way that it gives unquestioned authority to people who are sitting in higher position in hierarchy, and there is a lot of moral pressure on the innocent seekers and the followers. This part of the structure, although this is important for spiritual growth, I wouldn't say that it shouldn't be there. When you are learning something from someone, there should be some respect, some boundaries with the teacher. If I go to school to learn ABC and from the first day I start to argue, no, it's not A, and why do I believe that it's A and it should not be A and something else? It doesn't work like that. Initially, I will have to learn ABC and then words and then spellings, and then I can question also. Even during initial days, I have to question. I can question, but there should be some level of respect and some level of trust. That if I'm going to a particular school, I should be able to trust my leaders. So I'm not saying that this structure is completely wrong, but the lack of accountability is what enables it and makes it a breeding ground for toxic narcissistic people. And narcissistic people love these spaces because of the lack of accountability that we still have in most of the places, not everywhere. And in a lot of places, they have started this accountability thing, but in most of the places, it's not there. And from the day one, from the first moment, you are expected to blindly obey to everything and everyone. Because questioning is sin and dissenting is sin, even thinking is sin. Sometimes I have heard some people say that do not use your, some people repeatedly say this, when you are here, do not use your brain. So they tell you that critical thinking is sinful, which is very dangerous. Nobody should ever stop thinking critically. It could be very dangerous. You will lose your autonomy, you will lose everything. How can you be completely 100% dependent on someone who is not God? And nobody is God except for God. So the two components of these spaces, the spiritual spaces, whether it's religious or non-religious cult, the unquestioned authority and moral pressure, it makes it fascinating and it enables the dynamics of narcissistic abuse. That's what narcissistic people want. They want to control people around them, as I told before, because whenever they are with anyone, they want them to live, everybody should live their life in a way that it suits me, that it favors me. Even if they are getting hurt, harm, damage, I don't care. Even if their spiritual life is getting damaged, then also I do not care. And this is the biggest red flag. If somebody does not care about your spiritual life, they do not love God, they are not here for God. So whenever you have doubt, just pay attention to this thing. If this person does not cares about your spiritual life, their spiritual life, nobody's spiritual life, but only they, all they want is control, admiration, and power. All that they care about is they are not here for God. So do not mistake them for son of God or messenger of God or whatever they call themselves as. They are not. A genuine seeker loves everyone. Also, the compassion should be universal. It should be for everyone. It should be for it. If it's for dog, it should be for a chicken also. If it's for a vegetarian, it should be for a meat eater also, for a cow eater also. Compassion should be everyone. I'm recalling a book cover. There is some book in ISKCON, I don't remember its name. In that book, few animals are there, and I think Gaurang Prabhu is there or Krishna is there, and there is some light shown in the place of heart of every animal, which shows that Krishna is there in everyone. So even if you are not a Vaishnav, if you do not believe in the internalized Paramatma, still know that all the scriptures explicitly say that God wants you to love everyone around you. But if your love is very specifically conditioned only for people who are from your community or who blindly obey you or who never dissent, then it's not a universally, this compassion is not universal. So when vulnerability is seen as weakness and obedience is seen as virtue, spiritual abuse can hide in plain sight. So why is that? Why these people come here? They do not come here for God, and they're also not innocent people who just came here and then became toxic. No, they purposely come here. Narcissistic people, whenever they enter any space, whether it's political space, corporate space, even if they are in family system, wherever they go, very soon they want to reach, they want to climb the ladder and reach a power position. They do not like being not in power. That doesn't suit their lifestyle, the beliefs that they carry, the kind of life they want to live. So when they reach any space, they work very hard. And according to people who are experts in narcissism, a lot of leaders in all areas, they are narcissistic people. Because narcissistic people, whenever they enter any space, they work very hard, they create a facade, the pseudo spirituality, they create the facade of pseudo spirituality, which means they are not actually bothered about God or his message or what he wants us to do, but they will create an outlook that impresses people who can easily put them to a leadership position. Oh, this person is very serious, very high attendance, bringing a lot of donation, distributing a lot of books, and talks in all the, uses a lot of verses when this person talks, and listens to all the lectures and knows about all the big leaders in our community. And so is this person is so, what do you know that this person is actually doing in real life, in their family, and with their friends, with people who are weaker than them. If you want to know what a person is actually in their life, if you want to know someone's real character, observe them when they are with someone who cannot benefit them, someone who is weaker than them, younger in age, or weaker socio-economically, or less educated, or just someone who's very simple. Observe their behavior around them. That's when you will get to know their true face. So narcissistic people create this facade that enables them to climb the ladder and reach to a position, and then they can do whatever they want to, because most of these spaces lack accountability. There is no accountability mechanism, and there is a lot of moral pressure. You cannot question, you cannot doubt, you cannot even think critically. So what will happen? They get what they want to, and also they keep a very good relationship with other narcissists and other people who can benefit them, below them and on their level. So this is how it happens in spiritual spaces, and yet it does happen, it is happening.
Thank you, Anu. I was particularly interested in the section in your book called Keeping Faith Alive. It reminds us that spirituality and spiritual life do exist outside of religious institutions. Why, for you, why was it important to include that section in your book?
So as I said, that the worst thing that can happen to someone after going through spiritual abuse is that they might lose their faith in God and their faith in themselves. This is the worst thing that can happen, and it does happen in most of the cases. People get disconnected from themselves, and when you get disconnected from yourself, Nothing can improve in your life. And spirituality is meant to take you closer to yourself, to take you closer to your true self. But spiritual abuse takes you away from it. This is one thing that one can keep in their mind, always keep in your mind. If it's taking you towards your true self, it's spirituality. If it's taking you away from your true self, it's spiritual abuse. Clear distinction. So this chapter is my favorite chapter, and this is the soul of this book. This book wouldn't have been completed without this one. This chapter is the main reason why I had to write this book. I want people to know that it is possible to get connected with yourself once again, and to develop love for God once again. It is possible, because what you're feeling right now, it's not your moral failing, it's not your past karmas telling you that you are so unworthy of God, that's why it all happened to you. It is not true. They created their own bad karma by making you aversive to God, to spirituality, and also losing faith in a toxic system is not equivalent to losing faith in fate itself. However, it seems like when you are on the verge of leaving, or when you leave, it feels like now I've lost the community, now I've lost my group or my faith, so now I've lost the faith itself. No, it's not. Your faith is not enslaved to a building, to a congregation, to a leader, to a person, to a group of people. It is not. Look around you. Although this concept of community and congregation is not very new, it has been always been there, but there are so many famous believers, devotees in all religions who had a wonderful spiritual life without getting connected to any of the buildings or congregation or having a guru or something. It is possible. However, in order to increase the group cohesion, in toxic faith system, you are told over and over that everyone outside is dangerous and it could lay you astray and it could damage your spiritual life. You want to stay pure, stay among people who have a high vibration like you, who are fortunate like you, who are pure like you, who are on the right path, the only path that leads to God. These are all myths. They are set to keep the group cohesive, to keep people together. Of course, it's favorable to associate with like-minded people who are walking on the same path. It really facilitates your growth in any area. Let's say you join a dance class or you join a music class, and if you associate daily with people who are also trying to achieve the same thing that you are, it does helps a lot. But it doesn't mean that if you talk to someone else who's practicing for hockey, you will get contaminated, and the efforts that you're putting towards achieving your goals in the world of music or dance, they will get lost. You will get lost. It does not happen. If it does happens, it means you were not meant for this. You were meant for someone else. Someone cannot just come and contaminate your goals and your path. All that does not happen. It is usually set to keep the group cohesive. In dysfunctional families, in narcissistic families also, it is told over and over to not associate with outsider. They are all contaminated, and associate, even though nobody is ready to validate you, support you, be there for you, but you have to be physically so this thing comes from, this is evolutionary perspective. During the cave, when we were cavemen, we needed to stick together because anybody, a beast, would come and attack us. So we needed to be physically together. But it's not that time now. We have law enforcement, we have society with us. Everything has changed, but we are still living with that evolutionary perspective. Stay together, cohesion should be there. Even though we are damaging each other, we are destroying each other, there is so much exploitation. It happens in all kinds of dysfunctional groups, whether it's a family or a spiritual community or whatever. No, it's not true. You are allowed to associate with outsiders, but yes, associating with in our community, it is repeatedly said, have devotee association. Having devotee association does not mean spend your time anyone who wears the clothes that the gopi dress, the dhoti, and puts tilak. It means associates with someone who wants to get connected to God as much as you do. And it could be any person. If you sit with a person with a Christian who isn't so much in love with God, who wants their family to be spiritual, and they are loving and they're kind towards their family, and they believe in God, and they are grateful to God and to the universe, you are having devotee association. Devotee association does not mean someone who is carrying the facade of being a devotee, speaking that language, knows a few verses, and wearing all the clothes from your community. No, it's not. But people who are inside, they feel like that. Even after living for very long, people continue to feel like that because there is nobody to validate them. You already disconnected yourself from the outside world, thinking that it's contaminated, it's dangerous. And the people who are inside, they betrayed you. You lost faith in yourself, and you're not afraid now, afraid of God. So now what? You are lonely, you have no one that you can go to and talk to, and you share your feelings with them. So the external critical voices, they get internalized into you, and you continue to think it's my fault, it's my fault. And all the wrong teachings, they always stay there. So one should go and talk to someone who believes them. And I would always say, even therapy and psychology are portrayed as demonic. I had one devotee come to my page once under one of my posts and say, all this psychology is, it's demonic, and it's confusing people, and it's demonic, it's taking away people from the path of God and all that. No, it's not true. You can see, you can get connected to yourself and to God once again, only if you get better mentally and psychologically. The distress that you have, the mental health issues that you have developed due to the spiritual abuse, they, once they go away, it is possible to get connected to yourself, to the community, to the society, and also to God.
Thank you for that, Anu. And I think for me, the reason why I was so impressed, I was also pleased to hear that was your favorite section in your own book as well. The reason why I was so impressed and pleased to see that section is that so many people get in touch with me as well to say that they're having struggles in the institution, whatever religious institution. Usually it's ISKCON, but it's not always ISKCON. And actually, what does that mean for them? What does that mean with their relationship with Krishna? What does that mean with their relationship with Prabhupada? And we're finding now here at the Hare Krishna Project, and also with the League of Devotees, which is another network I'm involved with, is that more and more people are beginning to think for themselves, and they realize that they can have faith in Bhakti Yoga, in Krishna consciousness, without having to be tied to an institution.
Yeah, it's not your, nobody's faith is enslaved to, as I said, to a community, to a congregation, to a temple. We all have inner faith. We should develop that, not the outside these things. We must develop our inner faith, and nobody can touch that.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I've just produced rather a short talk, which is not online yet, and will not be online by the time the podcast comes out, called ISKCON Does Not Have a Monopoly on Diksha Initiation. Because some of the conversations I've been having recently with devotees is that religious institutions, one of the ways they control you is that you can only access God through them. You can only gain,
unfortunately, yes,
spiritual credit through them. And using ISKCON as an example, of course, there are other examples. Using ISKCON as an example, in the West and probably in India, they've used this holdover Diksha initiation. You can only get a guru and be connected to the line of Prabhupada. And actually, it's not true anymore. Actually, ISKCON has...
I tried. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, ISKCON in the West doesn't have that monopoly anymore. So I've just produced a short film saying that. It's not online yet, but it will be. But I'm sure it's the same in India. The Gaudiya Vaishnavism is huge, and there's so many gurus.
I at one point I tried to convince my mother to leave her guru and get initiated from ISKCON. That's the level of understanding I had. I'm very ashamed of that. And my mother said to me, "No, my guru is he's one of those gurus who were in the court at the time of the, you must have heard about that Ayodhya Ram temple. He was one of the witnesses who said in favor of Ram. So that temple was made. His name is Sri Ram Bhadracharya ji. He's one of the topmost gurus in India. And I used to convince my mother to leave that guru and come to ISKCON, because ISKCON is better. Because all the gurus here are better, more enlightened than anyone outside. ISKCON came only a few years ago. Krishna was always there. Krishna's devotees were always there. I have a client who is very distressed because she has been barred from her temple, from her local temple, and she is just not being able to understand her worth does not depend upon how much services they allow her. Krishna is for everyone. Anyone can pray to him. You bring his deities at home and you pray at home. Most of the Indian had been doing that for ages, since Krishna came to this earth. These communities and congregations, these are very limited things in India. But Krishna is there in everybody's home. Deities are in everybody's home, and everybody loves him and has a relationship with him. So I think this thing, to understand this thing, is easier in India because it's happening. But in West, only Prabhupada took Krishna there. So people think that, devotion to Krishna and relationship to him is enslaved to this community. Or there are some other communities also that are becoming popular now after ISKCON. No, it's not true. You do not need you don't always, I have talked about this thing also in my book, that you don't always need a community. Although I would always say a community always facilitates. It always does. But if you have been abused in your community and you are not in a position to identify a toxic one from a healthier one, it's safer to stay alone for some time. Once you start to develop faith in yourself and in people, then you can find a safe community for yourself. And not all communities are bad. Some are gray communities which have both aspects. But you should be able to identify these things to keep yourself safe in the community. Until then, you can practice it personally. That's what most of the Indians had been doing for ages, and they have Krishna in their life.
You and I are certainly on the same page on so many issues, which is one of the reasons I was really keen to interview you again on this podcast. Annu, if any of our listeners are experiencing spiritual or narcissistic abuse, what would your advice to them be, and where can they go to for help?
First thing is that stop sharing your stories with your abuser. First of all, you do not need your abusers validations for starting to heal from it. First of all, I have a lot of clients who keep waiting for their abuser, whether it's a domestic abuser or a spiritual abuser. They want them to accept that, yes, I did abuse you, or I am abusing you, so that I can feel validated. They would never validate that. They would never accept that, because it wouldn't favor them. It wouldn't make them look good. And most importantly, they already know what they did to you. They just want you to go crazy trying to prove that. Would you want to go crazy trying to prove that to them? Why would you? They do not need to play any role in your healing. They do not. So first of all, stop trying to get closure from them, because it's most likely not going to happen. Second thing is that also do not share your story of abuse with people who enable these abusers, or who gaslight you into thinking that, oh, it was not that serious, oh, things keep happening, oh, it was your karma, or maybe you should just forget it and move on. People who do not understand trauma that you are going through, if you share your stories with them over and over, they will minimize it, they will deny it, and they will gaslight you so much that you will start to gaslight yourself, which happens in most of the abuse cases. Intimate abuse, whenever the relationship abuse, whenever there is there, whether it's leader follower relationship, husband wife, or parents child, when abuse happens in relationship, there is already a lot of gaslighting done by the abuser, by actions and by words. By actions, which means they will hate you for 4 days, and then on the fifth day they will show you love, so you get confused. And they also keep you telling that you are oversensitive, you are thinking too much, you are it was just a joke, and you should forget it already. It was in past. Everything in past. Whatever happens now will be in past in 2 seconds. What does that mean? That I should keep forgetting everything wrong that was done to me? No. You might forgive them. Also, there is a lot of, from enables, there is a lot of pressure for forgiveness. Yes, you can forgive if it suits you, but never forget. Forgive, but remember. Because if you forgive and forget, they will do it again. And then you will blame yourself. And then you will feel ashamed of yourself for allowing them to do that. So forgive if you want to. Also, there is no pressure for premature forgiveness. Forgive only when you are ready to. Do not let anyone force you to forgive someone who hasn't stopped even abusing you. First of all, do not wait for validation from your abuser. Do not share your stories with people who enable them or who gaslight you or minimize your experiences. Then find someone who does validate you, who does understands you. You can go to a therapist who understands this issue. And if you're not able to afford a therapist at the moment, there are a lot of online safe spaces on Facebook group. There are a lot of support groups for all kind of abuse victims, domestic abuse victims, childhood abuse victims, narcissistic abuse victim, all kind of abuse, spiritual abuse victims also. Find these groups. These groups are moderated by admins. These are safe spaces. There are some rules under which people communicate. So nobody will gaslight you, preach you, minimize your feelings, or give you unsolicited advice. They will validate your experiences and you validate theirs. So when you talk to someone who has been through something that you have also been through, you get to believe that, oh, I am not crazy. And this first feeling that comes, it's so relieving, so relieving. Suddenly the hell lot of the cognitive load of analyzing the situation, who was right, I was crazy, or they are wrong, or if I'm sinful, suddenly it will go down, and suddenly you feel a sigh of relief, and now you can think clearly and plan what else you need to do in your journey of healing. So please stop communicating with people who do not understand, even if they are your. See, not everyone who is not understanding your issue is not toxic. Sometimes people are just not informed on the issue. So let's say if you try to talk to a sibling who's not associated with any of the communities and not into religiosity, they will not understand what you've been through. So mindlessly they might invalidate your feelings and you will feel hurt, although they don't intend to. They love you, they care for you, but they just don't understand the issue. So do not share your problem with just everyone. It's best to find online support group. You go there and you share your problems there. There are already a lot of conversations going on. You go and associate with them, you get into those communication, and it will feel you make you feel validated and not crazy. And the moment you start to feel I am not crazy, that's a hell lot of healing already done there, because all the time you're feeling crazy and sinful and more, and you think that it's all my moral failing, it's all my bad karma. You are not able to think beyond that. So once these clouds get aside, you can think beyond that. So, and also, like my book has a lot of healing tools are there in my book. Similarly, if someone is not able to even afford the book, there are so many free online resources that you can access. I have this one favorite website that I recommend to my clients a lot, Pete Walker. He is a specialist in complex trauma. On his website, there are so many free worksheets and things, PDFs that you can download. So there are a lot of free online resources on complex trauma. People who get abused in relationships, they develop complex trauma. And there are a lot of resources available online. You can follow the influencers, the psychologists, authors. They on a daily basis they release a lot of content on this. You can watch these contents and you feel validated, you will feel sane, and you will gradually start to heal. And whenever you can afford, you go to a therapist. And free things can also do a lot of help, like these free resources. And once you feel sane, you can gradually learn to connect with yourself. You can gradually experiment connecting with the society. I have given some exercises and tools that people can use to again start to connect with society in a safer way, how to identify a safe person and a non-safe person. If you want to find another community, what are the red flags that to avoid, what are the red flags in leaders to avoid. So next time, if you are taking a chance to go to a community, you will be aware, you will be psychoeducated. When you are psychoeducated, it's not easy for them to abuse you. I have also talked about this thing in my book, that same toxic space affects different people differently. What is the difference between them? Because they are carrying different levels of trauma, different level of social support, different level of awareness on these psychoeducational topics. So once you become psychoeducated, you become more prone. I have also taught how to have boundaries with people in your life, the boundaries in relationships and all that. So when you have boundary, you feel safe, you are safer. Even if you are in a toxic environment, you can thrive there. I've also suggested how you can stay in your toxic community or in your toxic family and still thrive there. And if what is the point at which you should leave and you should not leave, and how to take decision by yourself, the decision balancing chart I have shared, worksheet I have shared, that people can use. So if you are going through, first of all, your reality matters, your truth matters, and your story deserves an ear, a safe space. Go and share it with someone. And one thing also, these support groups on social media, you don't need to give your identity to them. There is an option to share your story anonymously. You can go and share your story anonymously, and you can interact with people.
Thank you, Anu. And what I'm going to do with this podcast is I'm going to put a link to your social media channels as well as a professional, so people can contact you directly as well for help and advice if they want to. Which leads us nicely on to the final question. It's been a great conversation. You're very good at just providing answers,
Thank
very
you so much.
succinct, and just kind of get to the point. Those are the type of interviews that I like. And finally, your book. How can people get hold of a copy of your book if they would like to buy a copy?
It's there on Amazon.com and all the major marketplaces on Amazon. So it's there. But I haven't read the proof copy yet because it's not available in India. So I'm a little worried if the print has come out right or not, because all the formatting, editing I have done myself. I couldn't afford professional services at this time. So I did myself. I'm a little worried how the copy would have turned out. So, but it's there. If you trust me, you can go ahead and buy it. It's there on Amazon.com. And I'm also planning to release Kindle edition also soon. And I'm also planning to find an Indian publisher where I can publish my book. I get my proof copy and get to see if the print is all right. And then the book will be available for Indian buyers also. But it's available in other marketplaces, .com, .uk, .canada, everywhere else it's there.
So what I'm also going to do, Anu, is put a link to your Amazon page so people can buy the book, and I will buy the book myself.
Oh, thank you so
I'm
much.
gonna buy I'm gonna buy a copy tomorrow, and I'll let you know how it looks. I'll let you know how it looks. I'm sure it'll look fine, and I'm gonna buy a copy. I'm going to read it because
Thank you
it's
so much.
something I'm very interested in, and I've become interested in over the last 3 or 4 years because so many of the people that contact me are people that have experienced these types of abuse in religious organizations. And I'm not a professional in any way. All I can go on is my own experience and my own views, and I can share that with them. And they need to make that decision for themselves of how they want to kind of move forward. But from now on, I can recommend your book as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
As a great book to read. We've had a fantastic conversation today. We've been recording this podcast for 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was
And
great conversation.
I really genuinely like how you kind of succinctly answer the questions. You're very direct and you're very good at answering, which is useful
Thank
for me.
you.
That doesn't always, I won't name them. That doesn't always happen on this podcast. I have to drag it back.
I am humbled.
And what I'm going to do as well is put a link to effectively was part one a year ago of our
Mhm.
first conversation, and I'm pleased that you've kind of revisited some of the topics we've discussed,
Yeah.
and you've touched on them again because it's important. And I'm also pleased. I'm going to say this is that from our first podcast a year ago, some people have got in touch with you to ask for support and help.
Yeah.
And that really means a lot to me, because I can see that there's lots of views, there's thousands of views, but I don't know who these people are. It could be just somebody messing around on their laptop, playing with the numbers. So I really like to hear these real stories, that real people, that this podcast is making a difference. And I'm pleased that you've told me that people have contacted you, which is great.
Yes, I've had a lot of friends adding me on Facebook, following me on my social media. I even have clients because of that podcast I did with you.
Great, great. That's fantastic. Okay. I can't quite believe we've touched on everything in an hour and 20 minutes. If you just stay in the Zoom room, and we'll have a chat after. But we've had a fantastic chat today, myself and Annu Pandey, a counsellor, a psychologist, a writer, an author, and I love how she's now using her own experiences and using her own knowledge to help people keep the faith. You know, I've met so many people who leave Krishna consciousness completely because they've had a bad experience at a temple, or they've been banned. You know, so many people have been banned. It's unbelievable. It's like you can make I don't mean to be comical, but you can make a comedy out of this. You know, banning people. I'm just I've just about finished writing a book called Inclusive Krishna, which gives one chapter is what Krishna says about inclusion and acceptance. Another chapter is what Prabhupada says about inclusion and acceptance. Because banning people and excluding people is not part of our tradition. God loves everybody.
Yeah, that's why he came to US. He accepted all kind of people. He allowed everyone, and he even transformed them. And he always used his love and his service to transform them. Never his tyranny or his control or power. Never. He used love. That is why it was able to establish ISKCON in the first place. But nowadays,
No.
everybody
Okay.
wants to be in power and everybody wants to control. That's the problem. They are focused on themselves, their own sense pleasure, and not much worried about the well-being of other people. A leader should be able to should be worried about the well-being of the people who are following them, who are trusting them, and not just their own sense. How does it favors me? Shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe you and I could record another podcast about that in the future as well. But
Let's see.
we'll see.
Okay, we can do that.
So it's been great to have Annu as guest number 193 on the Hare Krishna Project podcast. Remember, this was the podcast I was meant to record 12 episodes of and get bored and do something else with my life. But we're still going after almost 5 years, and we are just 7 episodes away from our historic 200th episode. And you're going to have to stay tuned every week to find out who our 200th guest will be. It's not going to be me this time. I was the guest on my podcast for episode 100. I'm not going to do that again. So a big thank you to Annu for being our guest this week. Do not forget, if you are watching this on YouTube, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, which is the other platform you can watch these podcasts, if you haven't already, and this does work because after every time I say this, it does increase. Please like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. You can see all the things we're doing here at the Hare Krishna Project that way. Okay, until next week, I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna.